Today is Yud Aleph Adar Aleph, and we are back into learning. We concluded last time, Baruch Hashem of course, and we concluded last time Perek Chaf, or Chaf, the 20th chapter of Shaar Hayichud, and let's just review the end of it through Rivka Miriam's review questions. Footnote number 6 about Akudim. To learn more about Akudim, it's Akudim and Tohu, Akudim, Nekudim and Brudim, and the focus is on Akudim mainly, Akudim and Nekudim. That is from the Alter Rebbe, from Maimarim of the Alter Rebbe on Parshiyot Satira and Moadim, and I posted it on the chat. Number 1, page Kuf Chaf Daled, towards the bottom. How does Seichel function in Olam HaTohu? What happens if a person is proven wrong in Olam HaTohu?
It's not accepted because it's very, very if you have the desire to do something, it's very, very, very specific. Everything else is excluded. Is that what I'm if you have the desire to want to be with chesed, it's very, very much the only way to be. And the other things are not allowed. So it's all in one vessel, all combined together. Yes? And nothing else is allowed. Like no negotiation. That's how I
very good. It. No room for any other perspective. Rivka Miriam?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so this so what happens if a person is proven wrong?
It is wrong.
It doesn't matter. He will not be able to answer. He will be silent, but he will not accept the opposite opinion.
Yeah, he just holds his own.
He will hold his own, even though logistically or logically he was proven wrong. So these only the seichel functions in the manner of nekuda, of his point, and there's no consideration, there's no hiskalelus with any other perspective. Very good. Number 3. What is the response of one midah to an opposing midah in Olam HaTohu?
Again, it's not able to respond. It's not able to reflect on anything opposite from it.
And not be able to tolerate. And
right,
that's why
the separation.
Right, and that's why the spheros operate how? Vayimloch vayamos. In order to in another midah, certainly opposing midah, to be present, the opposing midah, the first midah has to die, because it doesn't leave room for any iota of anything but itself. Very good. I think this was it, right?
Yeah.
What is the response of a midah to an opposing midah in Olam HaTikun, and why? Give an example.
The capacity to see the other person and to be able to merge and to include.
Why?
So the other one is
why?
There's his halkus occurs.
Very good. And give me one more word I need to hear from you. His halkus, but one more word, because his halkus, his kalalus, and also his pashtus, which means that the sphera in tikkun goes out of its nekuda state, and now it's spreading, it's pashtus, it's extending itself from its absolute truthful point state. Now it expands. When it expands, it's mischalek, as you correctly saying. It's now divided, and in mikelim shonim, as we say in Megillat Esther, all kinds of kelim. And now, when there is ischalkus, in Atzilus, the ischalkus, the division creates what? You just said it, Rivka Miriam.
He's kalalus.
Very good. The division in Atzilus creates iskalalus, versus the division of Tohu. In Tohu there is also division. There is Chesed, there is Gvura, even opposites. But what does the division, this Halkus, create in Tohu?
One dying, one going.
Separation, exactly. No Iskalalus. Separation and Shvira. And breakage. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. And now that this Halkus, now that the Sphira goes out of its essential state, which means now it is, in a way, you can say that it's compromised. Its light is compromised. It's not as pure as Tohu. But now that it's divided to all kinds of aspects, now the more it's divided, the more it can relate to something other than itself, because the more faces one Sphira has, the more possibility to relate to other kinds of personalities, other kinds of spheres, of energies. Anyone wants to add?
So, in order to exist in this world, we have to go into compromise a lot, right? In some way.
Yes, but
not compromise, but compromise for the essence, like we said.
Yes. Maturity demands shades of gray. That the midas of a child are midas of tohu. But a child is black or white. He's either happy or he hates you. The Rebbe says that our avodah is to maintain the broadness of the kelim of tikkun and to expand them as much as possible, while drawing into them the passion and the purity and the infinity of the oros of Tohu. Wow. And that we do with Torah and mitzvahs and the refinement of our own personality and all the 248 and 365 ways of connecting to the infinite and bringing it down into our own reality and into the world. So we can have the unification of the oros of Tohu, which are not compromised, with the kelim of tikkun, which are infinitely variable. And they are so purified, they not only that they don't block and they don't compromise the light, they are the best revelation of the light, the best medium to reveal the light, to the extent that the physical flesh will be the best vessel to reveal godliness. On to our Mareh Makom, to our footnote number 6, which is in the Alter Rebbe on Parshas HaTorah, posted on the chat, page, the Maimarim on Parshas Noach, and page Samach Gimel. We're not going to learn the whole Maimar because this will take another 10 years. But we have a little piece here that starts a little bit above the middle of the page, the line that starts Letaretz kol hadikdukim, over lehakdim tchila. Letaretz kol hadikdukim. It's like a little bit above the middle.
Is that where you put a line?
Yeah, there's a line at the end of that line. In the middle. Ulehavin biurei divrei hazor dil'el beparsha zu. To understand the explanation of the words of the Zohar that were mentioned before in Parshas Noach, mentioned before in this Maimar, yesh le'akdim tchila. We have to first preface hakdama achat, one preface, b'shoresh b'chinas hatohu v'atikun, in the root of the principle of Tohu and Tikkun. Shehu b'chinas Akudim, Nekudim, and Brudim kayadua, which is the principles of Akudim, the bind ones. These are the description of the 3 types of sheep that Yaakov handled as he was working for Laban. And then they separate the sheep. The Akudim were those who had marks on the bottom of their feet, where you do an akeda, where you bind the feet together. That's the Akudim. The Brudim and Akudim is like akeda. Akud is bound together. Brudim and Nekudim are those who had spots. Nekuda, that's Tohu. And Brudim are those that were they had stains that were like open one to the other, like merging one with the other, the dark spot and the light spot. Brudim. That's Atzilus. Okay, let's dive in. והנה מבואר בעץ חיים בשורש עניין זין שמות שאינן נמחקים כאל אלוקים הוויה כולו. It is explained in Etz Chaim of the Arizal regarding the root of the 7 divine names that are not to be erased, the 7 holy names, Lakel, Elokim, Havaya, Yutebake, Elokim Tzvakot, Havaya Tzvakot, Shakai, Adnai. There are 7 names, divine names, that are not to be erased. שהן בבחינת זין מידות דזו, שהוא בבחינת התיקון. So what are these 7 names? These 7 names are the 7 midos, the 7 spheres, the divine 7 midos of Zo, of Ze'er Alpin and Malchus, שהוא בבחינת התיקון, which is in Atzilus. So these, the divine 7 names are representing the divine 7 midos of Atzilus. Keil b'bchinas chesed, be'elokim b'bchinas gvuros, v'avai b'bchinas tif'eres, chulu. The name Keil represents chesed. Specifically, you will see the kli of chesed. The name Elokim is the inyan of gvuros, and Havaya, Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, is the inyan tif'eres. והן גם כן לנגד בחינת זין אורוס דתוהו כידוע. And they are also corresponding to the 7 lights of Tohu, 7 midos of Tohu. So we have the 7 midos of Tohu, we have correspondingly 7 midos, the same 7 midos in Tikkun. And here, but he mentions the Oros, because in Tohu we don't have mature Kelim yet. The Kelim are not sustainable. So the main thing in Tohu is Oros. And the Oros are in a manner of uncompromised, as Ruchama correctly said. The Inyan Hazayin Shemos. So in Tohu we're talking about mostly about 7 Oros. The Kelim are not developed yet. In Tikkun, in Atzilus, the Kelim are developed. So what are the Zayin Shemos? The 7 names, that holy names that we are not allowed to erase. Keil and Elokim and Avaye and Avaye Tzvakot and Elokim Tzvakot and Shakai or Kel Chai or Adnai. What are they? B'inyan hazayin shemos, the 7 names. Hainu she'en b'chinas hakelim la'oros. The names are representing the kelim of the oros. The kelim to the lights, 7 kelim to the 7 lights. Ki kol b'chinas let's see what these lights are. Ki kol b'chinas shem u b'chinas kli. Any name, a name represents the keli, the vessel. Le'yoso b'chinas oisios kayadua. And keli is oisios. Oisios, like in Seichel, the oisios are the vessels that carry the idea. If not for oisios, if not for the letters of thought, or the letters of speech, or the written letters, we wouldn't be able to communicate ideas. The light, the idea. The idea is the light, but the letters that contain the idea, whether they are letters of thought, or letters of speech, or letters of writing, they are the kelim that contain the light, that contain the idea. So a shem is oisios, is the keli that contains the light. Without a keli, you cannot communicate. You wouldn't be able to communicate the idea even to yourself. If we didn't have, God forbid, the oisios hamachshava, the kelim of thought, we wouldn't be able to understand, to perceive what are the mind of our soul perceives. So, oisios are kelim. And the name is made of oisios. So names are oisios. ובחינת הכלי של מידת החסד הוא שם קל. ובחינת הכלי דאור הגבורה הוא שם אלוקים. ובחינת הכלי דאור התפארת הוא בחינת שם הוויה וכו'. So, the aspect of the keli, the vessel, of midah, the midah of chesed, attribute of chesed, is the name kel. Aleph Lamed. And the keli of the light of gvura, of the midah of gvura, is the name Elokim. And the keli of the light of Tiferet is the name of Havai. Hulu. ועל דרך זה בכל הזין שמות שאינם נמחקים כידוע. And likewise in all 7 names that are not to be erased as known. And I think Netzach would be Havai Elokim, and Hod would be, Havai Tzvakos, and Hod will be Elokim Tzvakos, and Yesod would be Shakai, Ke'echai sometimes. There's a few options. And then Malchus would be Adnai. So על דרך זה בכל הזין שמות שאינם נמחקים כידוע. So too all the 7 names that are not to be erased, as known, all of them are the kelim to the oros. The keli for chesed, the keli for gvura, the keli for tiferet, all the way down to Malchus. Omnam, hine mevoar be'etz chaim. Now listen to this. However, it is explained by the Arizal. וכל זה הוא בבחינת הכלים שלהם. All these different names, different divisions, only apply to the kelim of the seers. אבל בבחינת האוros, regarding the oros in all the seers, כולן הן בבחינת הוויות. They are all in a manner of havayos. Havaya, they are all havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei. The only thing that they can be spelled vowel differently. You can vowel Yud Kei Vav Kei with a kamas, with a tere, with a patach, with a tere, with a segol, so on. Kamas is keser, by the way. Like keser is nekudah. Like kamas likmot et asfatayim means to close, to shrink your lips. Look at me, like this. That's likmot, kamas. Likmot et asfatayim means to bring the lips together, rather than patach, to open the lips. So kamas is keter, it's just a nekuda, is a point. And patach is chokhmah, it's the beginning of consciousness. Anyhow, what does the Arizal tell us? That all the different names that represent the different kelim are only applying to the kelim. However, the oros in all the spheres are all havayas, are different havayos, different havayas. ואינם מחולקים בשמות דקל אלוקים כולו. The oros of the spheres are not divided to names. They are not divided, they are all havayas. רק בבחינת הכלים. That the different names apply only to the kelim, to the vessels of the spheres. The oros are all havayos, אבל בחינת האור של כל מידה הוא בחינת הוויה. The light of every midah, of the 7 midos, is all havaya. רק שהניקוד דהוויה דחסד הוא כניקוד דהוויה, אינו כניקוד דהוויה דגבורה, שזה בצרך כולו. That only, that the nikud, the spelling, how do you say nikud? The voweling.
Vowelization.
The vowelization of Havaya, of Chesed, is not like the vowelization of the Havaya of Gvura. One will be with Sere, one will be with Segol, and so on. But the Yud Kei Vav Kei is all Havaya, all of them. So now, until now, what do we know? We know that the kelim of the spheres are completely separate, so to speak, are divided. Each one has its name. The oros are all one name, Shem Havaya, which represents, of course, Or and Sof, and the different Nikud, with different vowels. That's one thing. Now let's go further. So far clear?
So Nekudim and Nekudot, in vowelization is connected. This is so cool.
That's another inyan, yes, but it's connected because you have Tanta, you have the Tagim, and in the Oisios of the Torah has the crowns, the Tagim, you have the Nekudos, you have the Oisios, and you have the Tamim, you have the Trop. So each one represents also. So the Nekudos is connected with the Torah, but not right now. But here the Nekudos mean that that's the only thing that differentiates between the light of each sphere, because they are all Havaya. All the lights are Havaya, that's different Nekudos. והנה מבואר כל זה בעת חיים, שזהו יתרון מעלה במידת התפארת יותר משאר המידות. Now, what did we say before? We said before that every midah has its own name, right? What's the name? What is the name of the midah? What's the name?
The keli.
The keli. What's the name of the keli of Tiferet?
Shem Havaya.
So in that way, Shem Havaya is different. Tiferet is different than all the other midos. Because Tiferet is the only midah that its keli is called Havaya, and its or is called Havaya. Because all the midos, the or is called Havaya, but Tiferet, the keli is also called Havaya. Got it? מה שגם בבחינת הכלי דתפארת הוא בחינת שם הוויה כנ"ל. In Tiferet, in Chesed, only the light is Shem Havaya, but the keli is Shem Kel. In Vura, only the light is Shem Havaya, but the keli is Shem Elokim. In Tiferet, the light is Shem Havaya and the keli is Shem Havaya. So, שגם בבחינת הכלי דתפארת הוא בחינת שם הוויה כנ"ל בזין שמות שאינם נמחקים. The keli דתפארת הוא בחינת שם הוויה. We learned that the keli of תפארת is name הוויה. שם kel, שם אלוקים, שם הוויה, חסד, גבורה, תפארת. מה שאין כן next page בשאר המידות, שאין בחינת שם הוויה רק באורות שלהם ולא בבחינת הכלי כולו. It is not the case regarding the other midos. In the other midos, Shem Havaya is only in their lights, in the oros, and not in their kelim. אך הנה להבין כל זה, יש להקדים תחילה ביאור עניין בחינת אקודים, נקודים, ברודים, הנזכרים בעת חיים. To understand it. Now we got some kind of a map, but now we want to begin to understand it. We first have to understand the concept of Akudim, Nekudim, and Brudim that are mentioned in Eitz Chaim by the Arizal, Reb Chaim Vital. ומבואר שם בחינת האקודים. בבחינת האקודים אין שם ישחלקוס ל10 ספירות בגילוי גמור, אף על פי שהן 10 ספירות במספר. What is this explained about Akudim? Let's learn about the reality of Akudim. Akudim is the first thing that shows up after Adam Kadmon. The first showing up of the Sfirot. They show up in a manner of, in Adam Kadmon they are completely behelem. In Akudim, they are showing up first time. So, אין שם ישחלקוס ל10 ספירות בגילוי גמור. There is in Akudim, if you take a bus or a train or a subway to the Akudim, you will not find 10 spheros begilui gamur in a completely revealed way. אף על פי שהן 10 ספירות במספר, even though there are 10 spheros there, you will not find distinguish 10 spheros. There are 10 spheros. Why you will not find them and distinguish them? מפני שפירוש בחינת האקודים, היינו שכל 10 ספירות אקודים בכלי אחד, ואינן משחלקים ביוד כלים. Why you cannot find and distinguish 10 separate spheres in Akudim, even though there are 10 there, because they are all bound up in one keli, and soon we will, the Rebbe will explain to us what it means. They are all bound in one, or bound in one keli, ve'enan mischalkim beyud kelim, and the 10 spheres of Akudim are not divided to 10 vessels. Al kein, therefore, אין ישחלקוס 10 ספירות ניכר להיותם עקודים וכלולים כולם בכלי אחד. And therefore, even though there are 10 lights in Akudim, but they are not distinguished, they are not nikar, they are not apparent. Why? Because they are all bound in one keli, in one vessel. What does a vessel do? A vessel reveals the light. If you don't have a vessel, the light will be itself, will be infinite. A vessel defines the light and therefore reveals it, makes it revealable. If you don't have 10 vessels, even though you might have 10 lights, you will not see 10 different lights. They're all in one case. אבל בחינת הנקודים, this is Akudim. But then comes Nekudim, points. That's what we learned about last time, about Tohu. היינו שה10 ספירות מחולקים דווקא. In Nekudim, you already have the 10 spheros separately, each one distinguished from the other. שכל אחד ואחד מאיר בפני עצמו בכלי מיוחד, ונקרא התחלקותן ליוד ספירות, ונקרא התחלקותן ליוד ספירות. The reason why I'm having our time here, because grammatic doesn't make sense, and therefore if you look at the bottom, וניכר, it makes more sense. שבפני עצמו בכלי מיוחד וניכר, instead of נקרא נון קוף, you should have נון כף, maybe, which is ניכר. נון כף רש means ניכר means apparent, distinguished. So in Nekudim, the next stage after Akudim means all bound together. No 10 kelim, and therefore you cannot see 10 different spheres. In Nekudim, you already have 10 kelim. We learned that they are all in a manner of points, and they don't compromise, but you have 10 distinguished kelim that separate one sphere from the other, and each light separates shines in its own keli separately from the other. And then nikar is chalkutan liyud sfirot. And now you can distinguish their division to 10. Why? Because there are 10 keli. אומנם בחינת השבירה היה בבחינת הנקודים כידוע. However, the shvira, the breakage, as we have not discussed in an elaborate way, but mentioned, the breakage was in Nekudim. Why? Because none of them tolerates the other. And there was a breakage for many reasons. Also the relationship between the infinite light and the immature keli. And immature means that it is not divided, like in Tikkun. In Tikkun, it's a mature keli. In Tohu, the keli is in a manner of Nekuda. It didn't build up yet. And therefore, it can't cooperate with anybody. And therefore, there is a clash and a breakage. Okay, but that's not the topic now. We are talking about the dynamic of the descent from the oneness of infinity to 10 spheres of Atzilus. So there are 3 stages: Akudim, Nekudim, and Brudim. Akudim, 10 lights in one keli, and therefore you don't see distinguished and apparent 10 spheres. In Nekudim you already have 10, because there are 10 kelim, and you have 10 separate spheres that operate, as we know, in a manner of a point, of Nekuda, kayadua. ואחר כך נעשה בחינת התיקון. And then Tikkun comes about. Tikkun is made. Tikkun means rectification or fixing, establishing. Shehu b'chinas ha-brudim. Brudim means merging. Shehu b'chinas ha-iskalelus de 10 sfiros ze im ze or zu im zo chulu. This is the iskalelus, the inter-inclusion and the inclusion and inter-inclusion of the 10 sfiros one with the other. That's the union of Brudim. Brudim is like, reminds us of also the barod or varod. Varod is pink. It's like a mixture of white and red. You know, the mixture of the blending of the sfiros. Now let's understand. So now we explained it as a concept in terms of binding one keli separate to 10 kelim, and then the inter-inclusion between the sfirot of Atzilus. Fine. Now let's focus more this transition and this between Or and Sof, which is plain oneness, and sfiros. ולהבין ביור כל זה, יש להקדים לבאר עניין המיימר, אנטו חד ולא בחושבן, חכים ולא בחוכמה ידיע, מבין חולו. So we need to understand the Kabbalistic statement of Sefer Yetzirah, as far as I know, that Antu Chad velo bechushban. You are one, but not in the counted one. Chakim velo bechokma yedia. You are Chacham, but not in with the known Chokma that is known. You are Mavin, and not with the known Bina, and so on. What does it mean? The Kabbalah says, and the Zohar says also, Chad ben Antu Chad velo bechushban. You are one, but not a counted one. לבאר עניין המיימר, דלכאורה ולא בחושבן אינו מובן כלל. The expression that you are one but not the counted, not the chushban, not the counted one, חשבון, is not understood. ואם הכוונה על בחינת חשבון היוד ספירוס, וכאמר דאן תוחד ולא בחושבן יוד ספירוס, אם כן סותר דבריו, במה שמפרש ואזיל אנטו חכים ולא בחוכמה ידיע כולו. הוא מונה ועולה חשבון היוד ספירוס, רק שכולם אינם בבחינת ידיע נגלס. אבל מכל מקום יש חשבון יוד ספירוס 10 ולא 9 כולו, וקשה הסיפה לרישה. So the Rebbe says, I don't understand. It looks like there is a contradiction here. Because, lichora, if you are saying that you are one but not counted one, if you are talking about you are not one of the 10 spheros, you are not the counted one, if the counting means the 10 spheros, and you are saying, and therefore the statement is Anchad velo bechushban yud spheros, and then it means you are one, but not one of the 10 spheros. If this is the case, it contradicts in what he goes into explain and says, well, you are Chakim, but lo b'chokma yedia. You are Mavin, but he starts to specify and says, you are Chacham, but not with a non-Chokma. You are Mavin, and not with a non-Bina. You are kind, but not with a non-kindness. After saying you are one, but not one of the 10, he says, you are kind, you are Chacham, you are Mavin, you are Chesed, you are Gvura. So he does count 10. So you're contradicting yourself. If you are Ant velo Chad b'chushban, if you're saying you are one, and not one of the 10 spheres, why do you count and say after that, well, you are Chokhmah, you are Bina, you are Chesed, you are Gvura, but not the known ones. So you are 10. So decide, are you 10 or not? Are you Chad and Chushban of 10? Or you're not at all Chushban of 10? If you're not, don't say that you are Chacham, and you are Mavin, and you are Chazdan, or you are Gibor. You understand the contradiction? Rochama? Meaning, Kabbalah says, Sefer Yetzirah makes a statement. You are one, you, godliness, are one, but not one of the counted. counted what? 10 spheros. But then the next of the half of the statement is, you are Chacham and not in a non-Chokhmah. You are maybe and not in a non-Bina. You are Chazan and not in a non-Chesed. He specifies 10 things that you are. So decide, are you one of the 10 or not one of the 10? If you are Chad v'lo b'chushban, don't say you are Chacham, you are maybe, and you are Chazan, because you're saying you are 10 spheros. And if you are 10 spheros, you are not. You are 10 spheros, then you are Chad b'chushban. You are b'chushban. You are one of the 10. So decide, are you the 10 or not the 10? Umuneh ve'olech, he does count and specifies cheshbon hayud spheros. He does say that you are all 10, רק שכולם אינן בבחינת ידיע נגלית. But all of them, you are 10, you are Chacham, but not in a revealed Chokhmah, not a Chokhmah that is known to the world, to creation. Fine. אבל מכל מקום יש חשבון י' ספירות 10 ולא 9 חולו. But nevertheless, there is a חשבון of 10. He gives 10 qualities of Hashem, what he is. He's a Chacham, he's a Mevin, he's a Chazdan, he's a Gibor, and he's Rahman, and so on, 10 attributes. He says, but they're not the non-10 that we know, the spheros. Okay, but you are 10. And therefore, the kasha still remains. From the contradiction, miseifa lereisha. There is a contradiction between the end and the beginning of the statement. The end says you are 10, but not known. But the beginning says you are not one of the 10. ואם הכוונה במה שכתוב ען חכים על 10 ספירות הגנוזות ונעלמות בו, וכמשמעות אמרו ען חכים חולו, הרי זה ייחוד בחשבון י' ספירות הכל פנים. And if you are talking about the 10 spheros hagnuzos v'na'alamos, let's say you're talking about the 10 spheros, the way they're still concealed and hidden in Or Ein Sof, but you're still talking about the yichud b'cheshbon yud spheros. You're talking how the 10 spheros are one there. They're in Or Ein Sof, they are one. The 10 are like in a manner of one. They are like together. But there are still 10 there. ואיך אמר ולא בחושבן 10 ספירות כלל. So yes, you can have 10 concealed spheros, you can tell revealed spheros, but there are 10 spheros still. How does he say that Elokus is not בחושבן 10 ספירות כלל? That is not in the counting of 10 spheros altogether. So, what does it mean really? What does it all mean? אך העניין יובן בהקדים להבין עניין 10 ספירות הגנוזות בעצמוס המעציל. Now, let's begin to understand the 10 spheros, the way they are concealed in the essence of the emanator. The way they are concealed in Or Ein Sof, in Hashem as the emanator of light, of worlds. But in the Atmos HaMatzil. And in parentheses it says, לפי קבלת הרמ"ח, מוישה קורדוברו זיכרונו לברכה בפרדס, in his book פרדס רימונים, the orchard of pomegranates, ולפי קבלת האריזל בעץ חיים, and according to the Kabbalah of the Arizal, of the עץ חיים, which Arizal added the concept of the symptom which the Ramach was not aware of yet. Yeah, but this is not the topic here. And Esther Sphirot, but right here both of them are seeing the same thing, the Ramach and the Arizal, regarding Esther Sphirot, the Ak, or Esther Sphirot, the Akudim. So the way the 10 Sphirot are still bound and one with Elokus, with Or Ein Sof, we are not talking before the Tzimtzum. We are talking according to the Kabbalah Ramach and the Arizal. We are talking about Esther Sphirot of Adam Kadmon, of Ak, or Esther Sphirot the Akudim, or Esther Sphirot of Akudim. Actually, in the bottom, if you see the star, שם הגנוזות ומלכות זה אין סוף שלפני הקו והחוט חולו כמו שהתבאר. Here he does say, as will be explained, that you also include the Asfiros the way they are included in Malchus of Ein Sof before the Kav and Chut. Even. I wonder if it will include even what we learn in chapter Yud Kadmon. You know, Yachid, Echad, and Kadmon. Let's look at Akudim. Akudim. What does it mean? How the stirot are still hidden? Obviously, in Adam Kadmon there are no Kelim at all. If there are no Kelim yet in Akudim, for sure in Adam Kadmon, which is the four Akudim, no Kelim. So there are oros, but the stirot are there. Are gnuzos be'atmus ha'ma'atzil. They are hidden and concealed in the emanator in himself or itself. So let's see. דלכאורה דבר זה כפלא יחשב. Seemingly, this is like a wonder. ואם הן גנוזות בהלם העצמוס ממש, אם כן איך יימצאו במספר 10 ספירות דווקא. So now this following explanation will be a little expansion of our brain, like a little brain gym, and will help us to understand what is this reality of Akudim, of the way the 10 spheres are still gnuzos. They are still hidden, ganuz, and concealed, and treasured and concealed within the emanator himself. Because the question is, the wonder is, if they are hidden and concealed in the hiddenness of Atmus Mamash, in Cain, איך יימצאו במספר 10 דווקא. If they are concealed in Atmus Mamash, because the question is, if they are Mamash concealed within the infinity, and they are Mamash there, not as a distinguished 10 spheres, how they are 10? And if they are 10, how is the Atmos HaMa'atzil? Atmos HaMa'atzil is oneness. The essence of the emanator in relation to himself is oneness, is infinity, is oneness. So what does it mean that in the oneness there are 10? The imen gnuzot be'elem ha'atmos mamash. How can you point out that there are 10 spheres in Atmos HaMa'atzil when it's pure oneness? הלא אור האטמוס הוא אור פשוט בתכלס, למעלה מבחינת ישחלקוס לגמרי כידוע. The aur of the Atmos, the light of the essence of godliness, and the emanator, even that godliness that could relate to worlds, it doesn't matter, but it is or pashut betachlis, is pure light, not divided, pashut, uncompound, not undivided, divisible, indivisible, legamre, entirely, it's one. So now this will help us to understand what does it mean Akudim, what does it mean ספירות גנוזות. הנה דבר זה ידוע, שזה יובן על דרך משל מ10 כוחות הנפש, רצון ושכל ומידות חולו, רצון ושכל ומידות חולו. So this is very often Hasidus would give a mashal from the psychological, spiritual and psychological construction of the soul. Eser kochos hanefesh. We have 10 powers of the soul. Ratzon, we have the willpower. We have sechel, the chokhmah and bina, and we have our midos, shebanefesh, our emotions. Samachay, top of the page. Shebanefesh, I don't know if to read it, sechel midos chulu, shebanefesh hen klulim umisachdim yachad be'etzem hanefesh. What happens to the 10 kochos in the nefesh itself? In the nefesh itself, they are klulim umisachdim yachad be'etzem hanefesh, ad she'enan nikarim sham b'mitzius klal uchlal. If you could look at the nefesh itself before it's invested into the body, your nefesh, your nefesh, how are the koichos that you have? You know that the koichos that we have are not physical. These koichos we are talking about are not physical. They can be expressed in the physical, like koach ha-chochma can be expressed in a physical brain, and then you are perceiving, we are conceptualizing physical concepts and so on, and concepts to the physical receptors that we have. But all these powers, the power of chochma, the power of bina, the power of chesed, the power of ruah, they are spiritual powers. How are they in the nefesh itself? Before the nefesh is manifesting itself through the body. והכלולים ומתאחדים יחד in עצם הנפש, עד שאינם ניכרים שם במציאות כלל וכלל. To the extent that in עצם הנפש you cannot distinguish separate koiches at all. If you be able to see on your screen עצם הנפש, you would see nothing. You wouldn't see 10 koiches, you wouldn't see any koiches. At all. ומיד בבוא הערתם באברי הגוף, שם משחלקים למספר 10. Right when they come, a radiance from these powers, essential powers, now is invested and manifest in the organs of the body. There in the organs of the body, there will be immediately divided to 10. You will now distinguish 10 different powers. You have your willpower, Ratzon Metzius Bifnei Atzmo, which will be now Metzius Bifnei Atzmo, what I want, this I don't want. My Ratzon will be something I can recognize. You want this? No. You want this? Oh yeah, give it to me, thank you. You can recognize your Ratzon. Sechel Metzius Bifnei Atzmo, you have a mind. Hopefully we have a mind. We can use it. I can recognize my chokhmah, my bina, my analytical powers, all this, the way I use my logic to perceive and to analyze the reality in me and around me. Yeah, metzius b'fnei atzmo. V'chach kol pirtei ha-koichos. And so all the detailed koichos, even now they break down from 10 to many more. Koach ha-re'iyah, koach ha-shmiyah. All these powers are now breaking down from the oneness that there was in the Etzem HaNefesh. Koach HaRe'iyah Metzius B'fnei Atzmo, the power of seeing is now Metzius B'fnei Atzmo, has its own organ in the eyes. The ear cannot see, the eye cannot hear. The Koach HaShmiyah Metzius B'fnei Atzmo, the power of hearing. Hearing is a reality by itself. The Koach HaDibur, the power of speech, its own power. The Hareach Metzius V'areach, and the power of smell. Every power now is distinguished from the other. Metzius mechulakim b'fnei atzmam. Each power is now, they are all different powers divided one from the other and apparent and distinguished one from the other. אשר כל אלה הכוחות היו כלולים יחד בעצם הנפש, בלתי ניכרים במציאות כלל. All these powers were included together in the essence of the soul before it was invested in the body, or before I don't mean only in time, I mean also now. There is an essence, an etzem nefesh is not invested in the body, cannot be invested in the body. So before doesn't mean only in time, it means in level, in maila. But in etzem nefesh, bilti nikarim metzius klal. All these 10 koichos, if you could look at the soul without the body, you will not distinguish 10 koichos at all. V'zeh lichora yipaleh. This is seemingly a wonder. Me'ayin nimtza b'metzius gamur, be'heyotam be'evrei haguf. How is it possible? From where now we have a complete metzius, a coexistence of each power, when they are in the organs of the body? K'mo sechel b'moach, ure'iyah, ushmiyah, ba'ayin, ve'ozen, v'cherai gavna. Now you have separate powers. Before it was one entity, etzem nefesh, the nefesh itself, not divided to any powers, and all of a sudden, now when it's in the body, you see that the power of seichel is in the brain, and the power of seeing is in the eye, and the power of hearing in the ear. Im lo shekvar nimtza metziusam be'etzem nefesh. unless you say that they do exist in Etzem HaNefesh. Because otherwise, from where did they come? They don't come from Utica Avenue. They come from Etzem HaNefesh. From where these are spiritual powers that are a manifestation, ha'ara, from the Nefesh. So from where are they coming? From the Nefesh. רק שמאירים בכלי הגוף בלבד. But when do they shine? When they are in the kelim, in the vessels of the body. The body is a vessel for the light. ואם כן יש מציאות הכוחות הללו בעצם הנפש. Then you have to say that these powers do exist in the essence of the soul, רק שאינן ניכרים שם במציאות מורגשות כל כך. Only that they are not distinguished with a recognizable existence. כמו בהיותן בכלי הגוף, לפי שכלולים ומסעקדים. כמו בהיותן בכלי הגוף. They are only in Etzem HaNefesh, they are in the soul itself, they are not recognized and distinguished as they are when they are present in the organs of the body. When they are in the kelim of the body, each power is distinguished. In the Etzem HaNefesh, no. Why? לפי שכלולים ומסעקדים בעצם הנפש. As we say about Yachid, the Sfirot in Yachid, if you remember, when we learned about Yachid in chapter 10, which should be studied again and again, there all the Sfirot, and so too our Kochot HaNefesh, in Etzem HaNefesh, they are included, and misachdim, they are mamash one with, unified with and one with Etzem HaNefesh. And because of that, וגם מטעם זה אינן מחולקים שם. Because they are one with Etzem HaNefesh, and Etzem HaNefesh is oneness, therefore they are not divided in Etzem HaNefesh. כל אחד ואחד בפסיעות בפני עצמו, each one by itself. No, in Etzem HaNefesh they are not divided. אלא rather, כולם מסעכדים יחד, ולא ניכר מציאות שכל נבדל ממציאות הרצון כלל, אלא שניהם כאחד כלולים בעצם הנפש. והמידות נכללים גם כן על דרך זה. So what happens in עצם הנפש? כולם מסעכדים יחד, they are all unified together, all the powers of the soul are unified together, the power of walking, the power of digestion, the power of hearing, the power of seeing, the power of dibur, the power of touching, the power of smelling, all powers, power of sechel, will, power, are all unified together, and we cannot distinguish anyone from the others at all. They are both, let's say, ratzon and sechel are both one, included in Etzem HaNefesh, and the midos, the chesed, the gvura, the tiferet, are all unified as one in Etzem HaNefesh. And kach kol pirtei hakochos, and so all the detailed powers, re'iyah, shmiyah, v'chai gavna, seeing, hearing, and so the like, they are all one with Etzem HaNefesh and are not distinguished and divided to 10. ולפי זה הרי מובן על כל פנים שיש מספר לכוחות הנפש גם בהיותם כלולים בה. And according to this, at least you can understand that there is a number which is 10 to כוחות הנפש. Really, the Alter Rebbe says that they are infinite, like they are infinite spheros. So in that Etzem HaNefesh it is Chelek Elokam Iman Mamash, they are really infinite powers, but that's not the topic now. I'm talking about, can you find 10 spheros there or not? The Alter Rebbe Mechadesh innovated that you can find infinite, because in Or and Sof there is infinite spheros, not lav dafka 10. But we're talking about if you can find 10 spheros in Or and Sof, you can find 10 kochos in Etzem HaNefesh, because the 10 spheros are the building blocks of our reality. So can we find as 10 in the essence? How are the 10 in Etzem HaMa'atil, in Atmos of the Emanator? How there are 10 kochos in Etzem HaNefesh? But now we can understand that there they are not at all distinguished one from the other, that all unified completely with Etzem HaNefesh, and when they are completely one with Etzem HaNefesh, they are not apparent at all separately, one separately from the other. It's all, what you see is only Etzem HaNefesh. But you know שיש מספר לכוחות הנפש גם בהיותם כלולים בה. There is a number for the powers of the soul, whether they are 10 or how they break down to many more, even when they are included in Etzem HaNefesh. רק שאין המספר בישחלקוס ניכרס. But there the number is not in a distinguished division. It's not divided in a manner that you can distinguish between one and the other. להיותם כלולים בעצם הנפש, since they are included in the essence of the soul. ומיד שיבואו להאיר בכלי הגוף, and right away, when they come to shine through the vessels of the body, מתחלקים, immediately, instantly, they are divided. כל אחד נבדל מזולתו. Each one now will be separate from the other. כמו השכל יאיר במוח, like the sechel will only shine in the brain, והראייה בעין, the seeing will only occur in the eye, and the shmiya only in the ear, and so on. ולא אפשר שיתחלפו. And now, when it's in the body, they cannot be exchanged. שיאיר השכל בכלי העין דחרי גבנה. It's not possible that the intellect will shine in the eyes, and the seeing will shine in the ear, and so on. It's not possible. אלא, rather, but כל אחד ואחד יאיר בכלי שלו דווקא כולו. Each one will manifest and shine in its own keli. ולפי זה ממילא יובן, and according to this, naturally will be understood, שאין ארוך כלל ליוד כוחות הנמצאים באיברי הגוף, לגבי יוד כוחות הכלולים ומתאחדים בעצמוס הנפש. Okay, I think we will stop with before the lefize, because that's already the conclusion. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What difference does it make? How are the spheros in Atmos HaMa'atzil, and how are they in Kelim of Atzilus? So we will talk more about it. But now we begin to understand that even though in Atmos HaMa'atzil or Etzem HaNefesh you cannot distinguish 10 spheros or 10 kochos, but they are there. They are there in a manner of oneness. But they are there. They are coming from there and they are there.